Police. Fire. Damage down the road, just completely impassable.
On May 22, 2011, a monstrous EF5 tornado bore down on Joplin, Missouri. In just 38 minutes, it scoured a 6-mile path of apocalyptic destruction and tragically claimed 158 lives. With nowhere to run, 24 strangers found refuge in a gas station's beer cooler. This is their story. Viewer discretion is advised. It was just another Sunday in the city that Jack built. After a particularly chilly week, with average temperatures in the 40s, some 50,000 residents were finally enjoying a warm and sunny weekend. The skies were partly cloudy and people were out enjoying their day. Church bells rang out across town. Families gathered for Little League games. Folks ran errands at the big box supermarkets. And locals satisfied their cravings for Casamontes cheese dip. Hundreds more prepared for the high school graduation ceremony being held at the auditorium in Missouri Southern State University. 429 graduates would take the stage and receive their diploma and begin the rest of their lives. 4 minutes down the road, 35-year-old Reuben Carter was stocking inventory, manning the counter and joking with some regulars at the Fastrip gas station on 20th and Duquesne. Little did Reuben know, something truly ominous was growing increasingly more dangerous over the horizon. For the past few days, meteorologists at the National Weather Service had been tracking a low-pressure system crawling across the Rocky Mountains from the northwest and slowly gathering strength. It began to collide with warm, moisture-laden air surging northward from the Gulf of Mexico. At 1:30 p.m., citing abnormal atmospheric conditions, the Storm Prediction Center issued a tornado watch for parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri, including Joplin. Atmospheric conditions are measured in something called ML-CAPE, which stands for Mixed Layer Convective Available Potential Energy. This meteorology jargon tells us how much energy is available for a storm to develop. Typically, anything below 1,000 joules per kilogram indicates a stable atmosphere without much potential. Values between 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram suggest storms might become severe. Anything above 2,000 is considered significantly unstable. At those levels, the atmosphere is very likely to produce a severe and dangerous thunderstorm. On that fateful day, the ML-CAPE soared upwards of 5,000 joules per kilogram. The atmosphere was primed for an explosion. By the late afternoon, a lone thunderstorm erupted over Labette County in southeast Kansas. Because of the unstable air and high dew point, its updraft began to rotate, transforming into a powerful supercell on an inevitable collision course with Joplin, Missouri. The sky above West Joplin began to take on an otherworldly quality. What had been a normal spring afternoon was transforming into a canvas of ominous colors. Sickly green and bruised purples swirled overhead. 7-year-old Nathan was enjoying an afternoon at the batting cages with his parents and sister. He'd just gotten baptized at the local church, and his family was beaming with pride. Nathan loved the batting cages. It had been a really nice day, but the skies were starting to get really dark. An eeriness had descended upon the city. It was charged with an almost palpable sense of foreboding. They had a few more errands to run and wanted to get home before the storm rolled in. Meteorologists watched their radar screens with growing alarm. The storm was intensifying rapidly, devouring smaller systems in its path. By 5 p.m., the Supercell's powerful updraft had punched through the cap, soaring to the heights of over 50,000 feet, and raining golf ball-sized hail at terminal velocity. The spin of the mesocyclone was amplifying rapidly, and the Supercell began exhibiting a distinctive hook echo on radar, a telltale sign of rotation. A worst-case scenario appeared to be unfolding. The first tornado warning was issued for Joplin. Tornado sirens sounded all across town just after the high school graduation ceremony ended. Faculty, students, and family had exited the auditorium. Diplomas in hand, many had plans to celebrate over dinner and drinks. Some stayed back to take pictures and chit-chat. Others wanted to make it home before the storm got bad. Will Norton and his father made the fatal decision to drive home. They lived 17 minutes west of the university and would be headed straight for it. Among those still in attendance were Aaron and Allie, who were taking pictures with friends and debating on dinner plans to celebrate Aaron's graduation. They heard the tornado sirens, but blew them off. After all, this is the Midwest and sirens go off all the time. They got in their car having decided on El Vallarta for dinner just 7 minutes south on Rangeline Road. Storm chaser Jeff Petrowski had been following the Supercell since its inception across the Kansas-Missouri border. He raced alongside the storm, desperate to warn anyone in its path. As he pulled up next to a police car near 7th Street and Black Cat Road, he could see the massive billowing wall cloud approaching the city. Jeff shouted to the officers, "Get the sirens going! I'm telling you!" Back at the Fastrip, Ruben was dealing with customers buying cigarettes and beer without a care for the tornado warning. The skies were a twilight gray. The winds were picking up, and it was raining. Ruben was growing concerned. Even for those who hadn't heard the weather reports, there was a sense that something momentous was about to take place. Just then at 5:31 p.m., Joplin's emergency manager made the unprecedented decision to activate the warning sirens for a second time. This was the first real indication that this was serious. What Ruben did next is nothing short of heroic. Continuing on his heading, storm chaser Jeff watched in awe and horror as the thin funnel rapidly expanded. In less than a minute, the tornado had transformed into a monstrous wedge-shaped beast, nearly a full mile wide. It roared past East Irongate Road onto Schiffer-Decker Avenue just as Will Norton and his father were turning left off 20th Street. With pitch-black skies and sheets of rain wrapped around its mile-wide core, this tornado was nearly impossible to see coming. The windows of their SUV were blown out, and 200-mile-per-hour winds pulled against the passengers. Will tried to hold on, but he couldn't. The powerful updraft pulled him from the sunroof, and he was lost in the maelstrom of debris. 11-year-old Tracy and her brother Corey were at home with their parents. The sky outside their A-frame home was very dark, and it was pouring rain. The boys were tuned into the local broadcast on KSNF, discussing the severe weather alert. Anchors had cited various unconfirmed tornado sightings, but nothing prepared them for what appeared on the tower cam.
If you live in southern Jasper, northern Newton, take cover.
Yes, please.
Right now.
Please
I am telling you to take cover.
Take cover
right now. We do have a tornado on the ground.
This is a tornado, yeah. This is a...
They had only moments to seek shelter and headed straight for the Fastrip 5 blocks away. As they made their way to the shelter, the colossal storm was stalking eastbound, having just overtaken Maiden Lane and leveled St. John's Regional Medical Center. Next in its path was Joplin High School on Main Street, where it would cave in the roof of the cafeteria. In her father's living room at the Hampshire Terrace Apartments, 16-year-old Hannah Ward was watching the local news, her eyes drawn to the Doppler radar on the screen as the storm bore down on Joplin. In the distinct hook echo of the Supercell, there was a flashing pink spot over Joplin as the image continued to loop. "Is pink bad?" she texted her friend, who was a bit of a weather nerd. Her friend replied quickly, "Yes, pink is very bad." The storm was almost on top of them. Her dad grabbed the keys, got in the car, and raced east on 20th Street, intent on reaching their uncle's outside of town. Nathan and his family finished their errands and planned to head home. The warnings on the radio were horrifying and made young Nathan start crying. He could tell that the newscasters were anxious and afraid. Without much time to spare, they headed south on Duke West Road with the black skies to their rear. At this point, it had just overtaken Rangeline Road, where it collapsed the Home Depot and Walmart. Many people inside tragically lost their lives. The Hampshire Terrace apartment on 20th in Connecticut was also already gone. All they could see through the rain were flashes of pale blue light as the storm destroyed power lines and eviscerated the town. And they could feel the headwinds pushing the car off its vector. Anything further would be extremely dangerous. The power was out, but they found their way to the Fastrip. Ruben ushered them inside and against the wall. Also headed down Duke West was 20-year-old Isaac and his two friends. They were listening to the same broadcast as the frightened Nathan on the radio. As they made their way to the Fastrip, they abandoned their car and ran towards the door. The skies were becoming jet black with zero visibility. Rain and hail pelted down, and the canopy above the gas pumps was being pulled away with the sound of twisted metal and howling winds. Right in front of them were Aaron and Allie running for their lives. They ran inside behind them and took shelter near the back wall of the store. Isaac began filming. As the storm began to overtake Hannah's dad's car, they didn't know it was almost right on top of them. They just knew they wouldn't be able to make it to the highway. With nowhere to run and moments to spare, they ran towards the Fastrip. They were the last of the survivors to find shelter here. Ruben unlocked the door, forced it open against the wind, and ushered the family to the wall with the others. It was so dark outside you could barely see Hannah make her entrance. Ruben locked the door and shouted for everyone to get to the wall and stay down. The floor-to-ceiling glass windows began to crack, the walls began to breathe, and the wind reached a fever peak. Just then, the windows exploded. This is actual footage of an EF5 tornado destroying the Fastrip with 24 people inside.
We're good. We're good.
It's okay. It's okay.
I think we're gonna do it.
As quickly as it began, the roaring began to subside. The shaking lessened. A silence fell over the cooler. For a moment, no one moved or spoke. As their ears began to recover from the sound of 100 jet engines and a cacophony of debris slamming into the walls. Is everyone okay? Slowly, people began to stir, checking on those around them. We're okay. We're all okay. Ruben cautiously pushed at the cooler door. It was jammed. Working together, several of the men were able to force it open a few inches. There's an opening up here where the roof collapsed. I think we can climb out. One by one, they helped each other scramble through the small gap and out of the cooler. As they emerged into the open air, they were met with a sense of total devastation. Where the gas station had stood, there was now only a pile of twisted metal, rebar, and debris. As far as they could see in every direction, Joplin was gone. In just 38 minutes, the tornado had torn a 6-mile path of ruin. It destroyed nearly 7,000 homes and damaged 850 others. 161 people ultimately lost their lives. But thanks to the quick thinking of Reuben Carter and a bit of luck, all 24 people who rode out the storm in that beer cooler survived, with nothing more than a few scrapes and bruises. This video is dedicated to the memory of those who were lost on that horrible day. You can rebuild a town, but you cannot bring back a loved one taken too soon. We honor their memory and celebrate the legacies of goodness they left on those who loved them. Today the city looks very different than it used to, and time can make people forget. If you ever have a chance to go there, make sure to visit the Will Norton Miracle Field and the Butterfly Memorial in Cunningham Park. Thank you for watching. Joplin Strong. We hope you enjoyed this week's special episode of Ready Set Disaster. Our aim is to educate our audience and entertain through engaging stories, while sharing triumphs of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable odds. If you're into that kind of thing, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss an episode of Ready Set Disaster.